morning. Welcome to 49ers in 5, your daily update on everything happening with the team that you need to know. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. Here's what's happening with your San Francisco 49ers. There is no injury report today, of course, but John Lynch did hold an early morning conference call to explain how the Chase Young deal went down and what he expects from the defensive line moving forward. Let's start right at the top, John. Exactly when and how did this trade come together?
It was fairly late in the game. I mean, this wasn't something I went to bed, Monday night knowing that we were going to do this deal. We were talking about a few, and I don't know. I had this feeling going to bed, and I didn't sleep very well, and waking up that nothing was going to come to fruition just because I don't know, the more people do these, it seems like the comp is getting higher and higher. But ultimately, we felt like this would give us, a boost. We really liked Chase's film. We liked where he was, seemingly from a health standpoint. So that's kind of how it went down.
Lynch also says Montez Sweat was discussed, but ultimately they decided to move forward with the trade for Young. A lot of people, when I was doing the instant reaction show on Tuesday when the deal went down, we're wondering why Lynch would trade for a pass rusher when the secondary has had so many problems this season. Not an unfair question. Lynch was actually asked that question during the conference call yesterday. Why a pass rusher and not a corner?
Because I felt like it was the best deal to be had. We had a number of conversations, and we've always been of the philosophy that it starts up front, and that was the deal that made the most sense for us.
He said the best deal to be had. Sounds to me like the corner prices were just too high for the 49ers, which is kind of surprising because they keep telling us they're in a Super Bowl window. But finally, John, the pass rush we know has not been good. You made this move because you had to make this move. Why do you think the pass rush hasn't gotten home the way they have in years past?
That's the question I think we all go, into the bye week. And like I said, everyone's got to look inward. And we've got to figure this out. We know we have the requisite talent to not just be good, but to be really good. And that's incumbent upon everyone to bring that to the table. We put a lot of resources there. Those guys need to be not just good; they need to be really good and dominant and wreak havoc and all those things. And I feel like it's on its way, and we need to do that, and that takes everybody.
The pressure is going to be on this defense to actually get quarterbacks on the ground, and it's also going to be on the secondary now to hold up long enough to give those guys along the front enough time to actually sack the quarterback. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can marry those two things once they return from the bye. We always give you one thing to read, one thing to watch, and one thing you might have missed, one thing to read on this Thursday. Now that we've had a day to sort of digest the Chase Young deal, Mike Silver had a column where he explains why Young may have been available for such a cheap price, and it has nothing to do with his injury history or his upcoming contract. If you want to read it, just click the link in the description of this episode. One thing to watch. Chris Sims of NBC was a big fan of the Niners deal for Chase Young. He explained some of why on his podcast and also explained something else the Niners were gunning for at the trade deadline that they didn't actually get done. Again, I'll put that link in the description of the show as well. One thing you may have missed, the Raiders have fired their head coach, they fired their general manager, and their offensive coordinator. They made one other switch you may have heard of. Jimmy Garoppolo is now the backup quarterback. The Raiders are going with Aiden O'Connell this week and moving forward. Ian Rappaport texted a Raiders source as to why Las Vegas would go with Aiden O'Connell. And the source replied back, quote, "He's our best quarterback." Oof. Not quite how Jimmy Garoppolo imagined it, when he signed with the Raiders in the offseason. That's a wrap on today's 49ers in 5. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Enjoy your Thursday, everybody. Stay tuned for the original Gold Standard Podcast with myself and Levin Black. We're actually going to be live today on YouTube. We don't always go live on Thursdays, but we're going to pull it off this week. 10 a.m. Pacific time today. Levin and I will be live. Please come join us. Bring your questions, your comments, your complaints, whatever you got. We'll take it. Let's have a conversation. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. We'll talk later today.